Today on TimesCast, Congress passes the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, but the military will decide when to put it in effect. A look at the debt crisis that hit Europe in 2010 and the prospects for 2011. And Tuesday's Science Times explores the history of spacesuits.
The Senate over the weekend passed legislation that will repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. What is the timeline for this implementation?
Right now, there is no timeline. What has to happen first is that President Obama, the Defense Secretary Robert Gates, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen, have to certify that the military is ready for this change. That could take months. It could take well into 2011. After that, there's a 60-day waiting period before the change actually takes place. So it's nothing that's going to happen, as you said, very rapidly.
Do you see any sort of last-ditch efforts preventing this kind of big change?
I do not. If there's any kind of change, it will come in the courts, in court decisions that could push the Pentagon to do this more quickly.
So what exactly is the first step?
The first step is to design some training programs and education programs for officers as well as troops and Marines in the field. But right now it's very vague as to what that would actually entail. I don't know whether those are going to be 3-week courses or whether it's going to be 20 minutes as part of another training program, whether it's just going to be respect the troops who you're fighting with in the field, or it's going to be more extensive. The implementation plan, which the Pentagon has put out, an 87-page plan, says that the training should not impede the operations of troops in the field, and it should be efficient and fairly quick. So it's unclear, again, how extensive it's going to be.
In our series looking at the important stories of 2010, we look at the European debt crisis. On Friday, Moodys Investor Service cut Ireland's credit rating despite a European bailout.
Europeans had hoped that 2010 was going to be the year that things turned around for them. Instead, things got a lot worse. This turned out to be the year of the bailout for Europe, the year that the global financial crisis finally came home to roost. It all started earlier in the year when Greece admitted that it had cooked its books to gain membership into the exclusive club of countries that now uses the euro as its common currency.
110 billion euros to help Greece meet its financial needs.
Greece was forced to take a bailout from its European partners at considerable cost to European taxpayers and to the Greek people, who have since been living under a harsh austerity program meant to get Greece's finances back in order. But the concerns didn't stop with the Greek bailout. Instead, they started to ripple even faster across the European Union. Most recently, Ireland was pressed to apply for a bailout from its European partners after a major banking crisis left a huge hole in the nation's finances. Now the concern is that the contagion will start to spread to other Eurozone countries, such as Portugal, which has a weak economy and high levels of debt, and possibly even Spain, which also suffers in the wake of a housing bust. More recently, financial markets have even started to attack stronger countries such as Italy and Belgium. And some investors have even started asking whether Germany might find itself up against a wall one day if it continues to be one of the largest contributors to the European bailouts. The crisis has hit politicians particularly hard, including the likes of Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, who has had to explain to her taxpayers why they should foot the bill for countries like Greece and Ireland that seemed to party when times were good, but didn't pay down their bills when they had enough money. In Ireland, for example, the government started to tighten its belt a couple of years ago, not long after the banking system started to go bust. Now taxpayers are being asked to deal with greater cuts in government spending and higher taxes in order to pay for the newest bailout that they've received from their European partners. In the meantime, there's a sense of resignation across the country that the International Monetary Fund and the European Union are effectively going to be running Ireland's economic policy over the next several years. That is a feeling that many people in Greece are already familiar with, and it is one that people in other European countries are likely to get to know as this European crisis rolls on.
And a first look at Tuesday's Science Times with reporter Henry Fountain.
In a Smithsonian storage facility in a Washington suburb, there's a temperature-controlled room that looks like a morgue. But when you look under the sheets, you find old spacesuits. The suits are the subject of an exhibition starting this spring at museums around the country. Because of their fragile condition, the exhibition will consist of full-size photographs and X-rays. The suits are in varied condition, ranging from practically pristine to old and crumbly. Some were simply test suits, and some of them went to the moon. The collection of spacesuits dates from 1970s and earlier, showing off NASA's past. As for the future, with the direction that NASA is taking uncertain and funding unclear as well, there hasn't been much work on a new generation of spacesuits.
Join us again tomorrow for TimesCast.